This is the YoloBox Ultra, the latest YoloBox model in the lineup. In this video, we're going to dive into every feature the YoloBox Ultra is capable of, from 4K streaming to ISO recording to SRT streaming, and even receiving an NDI video feed from my iPhone, and even streaming vertically. We'll go through all the setup, all the configuration, and you'll see exactly how it works. By the end of this video, you'll know how to use your YoloBox Ultra or know if this is the right product for you. Now, if you're here to compare the YoloBox to the ATEM Mini, I've already got a few videos on this channel about exactly that, so I'll leave links to those videos down below. And while this video isn't sponsored, I do work with YoloLiv to give them product feedback and help them with future developments. But they don't get any input into this video, and they don't get to review it before I post it. So with that out of the way, let's get started. First, let's go over the physical ports on the YoloBox Ultra. On the top, we have our HDMI in and USB and Ethernet. There are 4 HDMI inputs for connecting 4 different devices, cameras, computers, whatever. 1 HDMI out, which can be used to just see a bigger version of what's on the screen or be a program output. Ethernet to give you a hardwired network connection, and then 2 USB-A ports. On the bottom, we have power in, USB-C power in, line or microphone input jacks, headphone out, USB-C port, which can do a couple different things, either feed a webcam to a computer, or you can use it as an input for a SSD or a webcam. A screw to attach it to a tripod mount, SIM slot, SD card slot, and power button. So let's go ahead and get this connected to some sources that I have on my desk here. Starting with HDMI 1, which is the camera that I'm actually filming this with. So when I plug that in, it should take a second or two, and then we should see the main camera that I'm recording this video with pop up here. I'll go ahead and plug in a couple more HDMI cameras as well. HDMI 2, HDMI 3. Those will pop up here in a second. And I'm actually also going to plug in an HDMI output from this so I can record and capture what's on the screen here for this video. So we'll go ahead and plug that into the HDMI out. And I'm also going to plug in Ethernet. It's always a better idea to use Ethernet if you can. That'll just give you a better network connection. So we're going to go ahead and plug that in. In the box, you'll also get a USB-C power cord, which you can use with the charger that comes in the box or any other USB-C charger that you might have. So I'll go ahead and plug that in just to keep this thing powered as we're going. Now, I've already skipped ahead a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and back out of this and go back to the home screen. So when you first launch the YoloBox Ultra, you'll get this new launching screen. This is where you choose live streaming horizontal mode, vertical streaming, which makes it work just like the Instream, or monitor mode. These two are like the YoloBox Pro. This one is like having the Instream built in. So if you launch the live streaming mode, you'll see the familiar screen which shows all your events. You can go back with this little button here and go into, for example, monitor mode. Monitor mode lets you use all the features of the YoloBox except the part for going live. You'll notice that the go live button is missing, but I still have the ability to bring in graphics, change camera angles, and you can even use the new ISO recording feature here as well. One of the other new features of the YoloBox Ultra is that it has the built-in vertical streaming. So if I go back to the home screen and press vertical streaming, then the whole interface rotates, and now it looks just like the YoloLiv Instream device. So once the YoloBox Ultra is in vertical mode, you've got your little app launcher here as well as the camera angles. So I can go ahead and launch Instagram or Facebook or Zoom or a browser, TikTok, or even download new apps through this app store. Once I've got the Instagram app open, of course, I can change camera angles like normal. Of course, you might notice that my cameras are all sideways. So I could physically rotate all of my cameras so that they are in portrait orientation, but you also have the ability to rotate here as well. You can change any of your cameras to rotate 90 degrees, and you can just rotate them around until they're the right orientation. For now, we're gonna go back into horizontal mode because that is the main thing I wanted to show you. In addition to connecting HDMI sources, you also have the ability to connect webcams over USB. For this video, I'm going to go ahead and try to connect the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 to the YoloBox Ultra over USB. A new feature in the DJI Pocket 3 is webcam mode, so I can go ahead and plug this in over USB here, flick this on. This should prompt me to put it into webcam mode. And within a few seconds, we should see it pop up on the YoloBox here as a video source that I can now switch to, just like any other. The other thing you'll want to connect to this is audio. You do have the option of bringing audio in through any of the cameras or even the USB webcam, but you can also connect things like a RØDE Wireless Go to the analog audio input or the USB-C port. I'll go ahead and plug this into the analog input port here, and we can go ahead and put this somewhere nearby me that we can test the audio with. Now that we've got a few cameras and audio connected, we're ready to dive into more of the features of the YoloBox Ultra. We'll start with adding image overlays. First, you'll want to find this little icon that looks like a stack of things. When you click plus, you can go ahead and add different kinds of graphics on top of your live stream. For now, we'll start with image overlays. What you'll want to do is add a bunch of images to your SD card. Go ahead and pop that into your YoloBox and you can see all the images here. For overlays, we'll go ahead and take this live icon, click done. You can choose how big you want the graphic to be and then choose where it should go on the screen. We'll add this up in this corner. Click done. And now you can see it showed up as an option here. If I tap it, it'll show up on the screen. The image overlay feature is also a great way to add a title card to show before your live stream starts. I can show my channel art, for example, bring that in full screen, and now I can put that on the screen before I'm actually going live. When I'm ready to go live, I can just tap it to take it off air. Let's take a look at some of the other features in this graphics overlays. There's also this lower thirds. The lower thirds lets you create these pre-templated layouts for lower thirds to show who's talking on screen. There's a couple different layouts to choose from, and you do get a little bit of customization options as well. For example, you can choose where it shows up on the screen. You can choose what to show up on the top. You can choose what size you want the different parts of the graphic to be. You can even choose the colors. Once you hit done, it's then saved as an option which you can then bring on screen by just tapping. There's also a countdown timer feature. This is a great way to start your live stream before you're actually live, to let you get a chance to test to make sure the YouTube is actually going live. If you do that, you can go ahead and change what text shows up in the top. You can choose the font, choose the color, choose how long you want the timer to run. I tend to prefer about 5 minutes or so. Choose a different color for the rings, choose the background color. You can even choose whether you want it to be opaque, transparent, anywhere in between. If you want to show what you're doing behind the scenes before you start, otherwise you can just go ahead and black it out entirely. You can even change the size if you really want, if you want to make it even smaller. Go ahead and hit done. And then as soon as you tap on that, it'll go and cover the screen and count down. As soon as the countdown timer ends, then it'll just hide itself. You also have the ability to create titles, which are different layouts compared to the lower thirds. This one has a little box around it. You can change the text 1, text 2. You can choose the font, choose the size of each part, just like before. So it's just a different way to lay out what you've got on the screen here. And again, this shows up as an option that you can just tap to bring on air. A couple other layouts you have here. You can add a logo from your SD card. So if you have something that's more like a logo and less like a full screen graphic, you can use that. I guess it has to be square. Let's go ahead and use my face. There we go. I can use my face. I can say Aaron, and I can put that over here. And now, again, it just shows up like an overlay. You tap it to bring it on air. One of the other kinds of graphics you can add is a web URL overlay. This is a way to use any kind of web graphics generation software to bring in graphics from something else. Now, YoloLiv does actually have a whole package, a whole software package for generating web graphics. You can also use your own URLs. What I've done is I actually often use this web page I made a long time ago to show a map of where I am and how fast I'm going so that when I put this on a bicycle, I can actually have a map showing my route on here as I'm going live. And this is all just a web page that I wrote. It's up on a server somewhere, so I just entered the URL into the YoloBox, and it's able to actually render it on top of the video. It's a pretty cool feature. It lets you do all sorts of custom graphics that are not available in the actual YoloBox itself. The last type of overlay you can add is called social overlays, and this just has a couple templates for adding different social profiles. So I can go ahead and choose this one, choose whether I want to show the Instagram icon or a different platform, enter my Instagram username, choose the font, choose the size, choose how big this goes, and of course drag it to where it should go. Click done, and now I've got an Instagram graphic that I can bring in on screen. So you get a ton of options for bringing in different graphics, but let's talk a little bit about the other video sources you can use. We've already mentioned that we can bring in multiple video sources over HDMI. There's actually 4 different inputs, and you can bring in USB webcams, but there's a lot more. One of the really cool options is you can actually load up 2 different video clips from an SD card to be able to play back videos that are recorded already on the SD card. Let's go ahead and choose local video 2, and I can choose this video clip I recorded while I was in Vienna, and it's gonna just be here, and I can tap it to play it, and it'll just start playing back just like it's a local video clip. I can cut to this, between this, a live video of me, of the overhead camera, or of the video clip. There's a couple different options you have for playing back video clips. Let's go over to the options screen here. And in this local video switching option, you can actually choose whether you want the recorded clip to continue playing when switching. So when you switch away, it'll just keep going. Resume first frame and pause when switching, or just pause when switching. So pause when switching means if I go away from it, it stopped playing. And if I cut back, it'll resume, right? If I click continue playing when switching, when I go to it and then I cut away from it, it's going to keep going. So now we're missing whatever's going on there on air, but I can cut and show it live. So depending on what you're actually showing, you may want to choose different options for this. There's also the option local videos play mode, which will either have the video stop playing when it gets to the end, or just play in a constant loop. So again, depending on what you're actually using this for, you may want to look at these different options. Another totally different way you can add more different sources to this is actually using a PDF. This is a way to load in like a slideshow into the YoloBox itself and use that as a video source. So once I've done that, it shows up like another video source here. I can go ahead and click it, and that shows up on air. There are little navigation options here to choose which page of the PDF to show. So I can go ahead and I can use this to like have a title screen and then go between these as someone else is talking. And, you know, we'll get to the different picture-in-picture layouts in a second too, because that's where this starts to get really powerful. So cutting between videos is one thing, and it's great to be able to cut between different HDMI inputs, a webcam, also a PDF, and a local SD card video clip. But what makes the YoloBox Ultra super powerful is the different layout options you get. When you go to add video source, you actually have the option of creating different layouts. Notice we have picture-in-picture, split view, side-by-side, 2 views, 2 views, 2, news layout, 3 views, 3 views, 2, and 3 views, 3. You get a lot of different options for actually laying these out. Let's go through these one by one because these are actually really powerful. First, picture-in-picture, pretty straightforward. This is what lets you do things like, let's take one video as the first video you choose will be the background. Second video you choose will be the close-up, the picture in the picture. Now, I can drag this over top of the background. I can choose how big that should be. I can choose how big the border is, and I can choose the color of the border. Now, when I cut to that, I just see the picture-in-picture layout, and I can go between that and like webcam. You might want to choose the PDF, for example, as one of your layouts and the person presenting. And now I can go ahead and have my face over my presentation. That's not the best slide for that. There we go. On the YoloBox Mini and the Pro, there are different options for that picture-in-picture. You can actually do it in a circle. So I'm assuming they're going to add that to this as well. It's just apparently not in this version of the firmware yet. Let's take a look at split view. Split view, we'll choose 2 sources, that one and that one. The way split view works is you choose where you want the separator, and it'll choose how much of each video to show. And notice how it's keeping them both centered. So if you have someone talking like this, you might want them to be smaller than the thing they're showing. And this is actually a pretty good layout for what I'm doing here. You can also choose if you want that to be at an angle, which I kind of like it because it matches my branding. And you can choose whether you want that to be centered, but I definitely do. And if you made the mistake of which order you chose them in, you can always hit the swap video button. I'll go ahead and save this because I kind of like that layout. Let's take a look at side by side. We're going to choose 2 sources again. We'll choose that one and that one. For this one, we get to now choose a background. Your background has a couple of preset backgrounds, including an animation, but you can also load in your own background from the SD card. So with my own branding, I can now choose the 2 videos, choose how the spacing you want, whether you want them to shrink or whether you want to go like that. Again, if you made a mistake of which one you want in which spot, you can choose swap video. 2 views, 1. We'll choose main camera and overhead camera. This one is kind of like the side-by-side, but with no background. It looks like they're missing the center option, so maybe they can add that back because this is a little bit weird, me being not in the center of that video. 2 views, 2. This one we do get to add a background, so I'll add my branding in the background there, and now I get to choose, of course, the border thickness and choose the scale. So this is keeping those 2 things vertical and now choosing whether we're zooming into them or whether we're zooming out of them. Kind of interesting layout. Let's take a look at news layout. We'll take that one. We'll take that one. And I did that in the wrong order, so we'll swap video. And we'll add a custom background. And now we get, I guess I have to kind of go over there. So the center option is missing from this as well. Same idea, though. You get to choose the different border options. And the interesting thing about this one is that the slides you can see is always full 16:9, and it's cropping the other video, which is good for presentations. And then it's got a little space down there if you want to add a lower third. 3 views. Now we get to choose 3 sources. We'll choose that one, and that one. And now, just like before, it's actually doing the 3 sources. We can choose to zoom in, zoom out, choose how big we want each one to be in case you want to change the proportions of each. 3 views, 2. 1, 2, 3. Here we can go ahead and add a background and then choose the scale of this, whether we want to zoom into these or zoom out of them. 3 views, 3. 1, 2, 3. And now with this one, I can choose my branding again in the background and then choose whether we want these to be zoomed out, zoomed in. And now we have all of these saved as video sources that we can cut to while we're streaming, just like they were video angles by themselves. Now let's move on to an entirely different topic, which is chroma keying, green screening, also known as blue screening. Now, I don't have a good green screen setup here, but I can set up my quick little green screen behind me, although I will caveat this with it is not actually properly lit in this setup. That is a green screen and is not the best green screen. So keep that in mind. Light your green screen better. But we can get the point across here. So the way this works is take your camera that has the green screen, click on the little gear icon, choose this chroma keying option. Toggle this on, and then if you choose which color you have in your background, green or blue, it'll do a pretty good job of keying it out. And you can tell that that was horribly lit, but it's actually done a very good job of finding the green and making it transparent. My green screen doesn't cover that part, so that's not transparent. You do get a couple of adjustments here. So if you have better or worse lighting, then you can actually, oh wow, that's really pushing it, but it's looking surprisingly good. We'll leave it about there because I don't want to remove too much. If you want to be transparent, leave the background image like that. Otherwise, you could use your own background image here, which you can just choose from the SD card. We'll go ahead and click done. And now this camera has turned into a transparent black background, which is probably not what you want. What you actually want to do is put this on top of something else. So that takes me to down here, add new video source, and we'll do picture in picture. So for this, we're going to choose the video we want in the background. Then we're going to choose the chroma keyed video. Don't want a border on that. And now imagine that my green screen was actually properly framed. You can see I've got a little version of me down in the corner there, and I can cut to that. And it's got, you just have to use your imagination here. I'm sorry. And it's got me floating over the presentation. Again, they're actually on the YoloBox Pro, there was a feature to crop the video. So I'm assuming that's going to eventually make its way into the software as well. They just haven't made that feature yet. Okay, my green screen is horrible. Let's get rid of it because that's frankly embarrassing. Next up, let's talk about a new feature they added to the YoloBox Ultra, which is NDI. I have a beta version of the firmware and it is getting updated regularly as we speak. But currently I'm using the beta version of the NDI feature, which is limited to 5 minutes because it is not actually launched yet. But it will eventually come out, and then we can actually take a look at how it will work in the future. So the NDI feature works just like adding another camera source, where you scroll down, add video source, and now you get this option to add NDI. This is now searching for NDI sources on my network. Because this is hardwired in, I should get a pretty good signal to this. I'm going to go ahead and open my phone and use my phone as an NDI camera. And this will work with theoretically any NDI source, although it might depend on the actual format of NDI that it's sending. For this demo, I'm going to go ahead and pick the app called Shoot, which is a nice app for turning your phone into a clean webcam feed. But it also actually supports NDI, but you do have to pay for that feature in the app. Most NDI features are paid upgrades of some sort. It's because of the NDI licensing. So I've got the Shoot app open on my phone. This means my phone is now broadcasting the NDI feed over the LAN as well because it's on the same network. So if we go back to the YoloBox, we see that my phone is now showing up and it's saying this is the Shoot app. So I'll go ahead and choose that. Click done. Sure enough, there's my phone's video feed coming in to the YoloBox. This is entirely wireless. I've got my phone here, sending a wireless video feed into the YoloBox Ultra. This is so cool. This is exactly what I want out of a wireless camera. I want to just grab a phone, get it onto my network, and then have my phone video feed show up in this device. I am very excited for this to actually come out and launch to be available to all of you. It's very cool to see this. So as you can see, the performance is actually pretty good. So we'll go ahead and turn this around. I'll actually share the screen with you so you can see what I'm looking at. So this is the video feed from my iPhone recorded through the YoloBox Ultra. Now, this is the app called Shoot. Looks pretty good. We're not doing the sound through this. The sound is still coming through the microphone. So right now, the NDI video doesn't include sound, so keep that in mind. But again, this is currently beta firmware, so that might change in the future. But the performance of this is fantastic. I'm honestly really impressed. It's very cool to see this feature in the YoloBox Ultra. We'll go ahead and wrap this up and continue on. We've spent a lot of time talking about video, but let's move on to audio. Over in this little icon that looks like a speaker with a little squiggle, this is the audio mixer. Now, this is where you get to choose all the different audio sources that you're going to be using on your video feed. Let's start at the top. Program, this is the actual volume and whether you want to use AFV or not. AFV stands for audio follows video, which means as you change which camera, you'll notice the audio changes to match. This I actually don't use very often because I don't often have good audio coming into every camera. So normally I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to force the audio to come from only one source. That could be an HDMI camera. Like if I know that I have my wireless microphone plugged into a camera that's coming in over HDMI, I will force it to that audio. Or if you are, like in this situation, running audio from a wireless microphone into the analog input, that shows up here. So I can go ahead and turn that on. You also have the ability to bring in audio from USB. In this case, the USB 1 is the webcam. This is the little Osmo Pocket 3 over here. And this does have the ability to send audio. You can also bring in audio through USB microphones. That could be a regular USB microphone like a Rode Pod mic. You can also connect things like the Rode Wireless Go over USB as well. So if I take that out, grab a little USB cable, plug it into the USB-C, plug this in here. Now we see this other option down here, USB 2. So I can bring in audio from this microphone over USB instead. Now, one thing they changed in the YoloBox Ultra compared to the Pro and the Mini is that you actually can mix audio from USB and other sources. That used to not be the case. So if I have audio from a HDMI camera and I want to bring in audio from a USB microphone, you can have them both turned on at the same time now. That's fantastic. I guess this thing is just powerful enough to be able to handle it now. So that's great. They removed that limitation. The other thing I should mention about audio is that if you are bringing in audio over analog, the trick with analog audio is that it's often ahead of the video, or rather the video sources are going to be delayed. Like every HDMI camera has some amount of delay out of the HDMI port. So if you're bringing in audio separately, especially over analog, you'll have to delay the analog audio to match the video. And the good news is you do in fact have the option to add a delay of up to 110 milliseconds, which is a good amount, 1/10 of a second, and you can compensate for quite a good amount of video delay by delaying your analog audio to match. One other note about audio is that I've noticed that for some reason, this device seems more susceptible to having ground loop problems compared to the YoloBox Pro. What I mean by that is if you have an audio device plugged into the analog port and that device is plugged into power, especially if it's a different power source than you're used to plug in the YoloBox, it's very possible that you'll end up creating a ground loop, which sounds like a horrible buzzing sound in the recording. There's a couple of different things you can try to remove ground loops. One is to power the audio interface from batteries and not plug it into wall power. Another is to change which wall power things are plugged into. Sometimes changing it to the same power strip can fix it. Sometimes changing it to different power strips can fix it. Another thing you can do is to buy an audio isolator. And that's this little box that connects between the audio out of your mixer and the audio input of the YoloBox. And that can get rid of a lot of the ground loop problems as well. I actually use this device all the time in my main recording setup that I'm using to film this video right now. My setup is an overhead microphone that goes into this Zoom audio interface, which the output of that goes into the main camera. That camera then sends the video and audio to my main rack. But for some reason, there's a ground loop problem between the audio interface and the camera on this pole. So what I've done is I've put this ground loop isolator in between, and that solves the problem. The good news is these are not expensive. You can usually find one for under $10. I'll leave a link down below to the one that I've bought. Let's move on to some of the other features in the YoloBox. So we talked about a lot of the graphics features of bringing in still images using the built-in countdown timers. There's also this whole section over here for Scoreboard. Now, I will first admit that I don't have a lot of experience using a Scoreboard feature in a product like this because I don't often go and film games. But it is cool that it is built in. You just turn this on, and now you can put this where you want on the screen, and then you can increment the scores for each. They have a few different options for things like whether you want to include a clock, whether you want it to be count down, count up. You can choose to run the clock. You can reset it. You can choose what text you want to show up there. You can choose how big you want this. A lot of good options for running scoreboards from the YoloBox built-in itself. Of course, if this does not do what you want, you can also just get rid of this whole thing and then bring in whatever graphics you want, whatever kind of scoreboard you want over a web URL. If you have some other scoreboard generator that outputs a web page, tap on that, go to customize, enter the URL here, or you can even use the YoloCast graphics that are from the YoloLiv platform. If you add your own graphics on the website, then they'll show up here. A great feature on the YoloBox Ultra, as well as the Pro and the Mini, is the auto switching camera feature. This is great if you're using this for podcasting. So if you have a couple different camera angles set up, go over here to this little 2 camera icon with the lines between them, and then choose which of the video sources you want to use in the auto switching. I'll go ahead and choose, why not, all 4, sure. You can even choose your different layouts. You can choose how long you want each one to stay on the screen. Let's go ahead and choose something very short just so you can see what's going on without this taking forever. We'll choose 2 seconds on each camera. Of course, you can make one of them last a little bit longer. And then let's set it to loop, so it'll just go in an infinite loop. This will be sequential, or you can choose random as well. Choose which one you want to spend a little bit more time on if you're doing it in random mode. But let's make sure those are actually set to 2. There we go. And once this is all configured, if you click Start Auto Switch, then it's going to just start switching between different cameras automatically. And notice that it's actually got this thing over top of the controls for switching manually because it's doing the switching itself. So it's showing me how long it's spending on each camera angle on the side here, and it's totally hands-off. It's doing the switching. So if you're doing a podcast, you can have it switch between the close-up of each guest, a wide shot. You can have it spend more time on the wide shot if you want, and it'll just run your show for you. So pretty great to have this feature in here as well. So switching cameras, adding graphics, adding a scoreboard, countdown timers, auto switching cameras, that's all fantastic. But where does this video actually go? We need to actually go live somehow. There's this giant go live button on the top right over here. How do you actually set that up? Well, that's what this little tab is over here. This is where you choose where you want to stream to. There are a couple different ways you can actually do streaming. You'll notice I have a bunch of different destinations set up. But let me first go over and talk about one feature in the Settings tab. In the Settings tab, there is a feature over here called Streaming Mode. Streaming Mode, you can choose between direct platform streaming or YoloLiv's multi-streaming service. This is actually really cool because direct is what you'd expect. It streams from this device to wherever you're going. Multi-streaming lets you actually choose multiple different platforms that you want to send to. So if you want to send to YouTube and Facebook at the same time, you choose the multi-streaming service. Now this will send one stream from the YoloBox to YoloLiv servers, and then their servers stream it out to the other platforms. That's why it's this other option here, which means you don't need twice the bandwidth to stream to 2 locations. If you have that option available, you can now choose multiple different streaming connections to stream to, up to 3. To add options to this list, click this little plus sign here, and you can choose whether to stream to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or custom RTMP, and now custom SRT. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch are like you'd expect. That has direct integration from the YoloBox to those platforms using their APIs, which does mean that you'll get the chat comments from those streams back in the YoloBox. But if you're not streaming to those platforms, if you want to stream it somewhere else, you can add your own custom RTMP endpoint. And in the YoloBox Ultra, new feature is SRT. So I can go ahead and click RTMP. What this will do is this will actually let me send a link to my email address where I can then enter the actual details for the custom RTMP, which is easier than typing it out on this little screen. So we'll send that. Let's also give myself an SRT link. So over on my computer, I loaded up this link that it sent me, and I can now type in the details that I want. What I'll do for this video is I'm actually going to stream SRT to a device in my own studio, which will receive the SRT feed so we can see it on the screen. I have the Magewell Pro Convert, which is a great device for testing this kind of stuff and receiving RTMP or SRT feeds. So I'll call this Magewell Studio. We'll do this over SRT because I really want to test this SRT feature. Now we have to go find the server URL for the SRT receiver. So I've logged into my Magewell Pro Convert here, and I've got the SRT URL here. Let's go ahead and choose that. And I don't actually know why it's giving me this 000 address, because that's not the correct address for it. I'm gonna have to replace it with this IP address. As long as the YoloBox is in direct mode, it should be able to stream directly to my local address of the SRT. Find out if this works. I'm gonna go ahead and enter that, and I'm gonna change the IP address to the IP address of my Magewell Pro Convert and push these settings to the YoloBox. So now back in the YoloBox, we should see the custom destination show up down here called Magewell Studio. One of the really cool things you can do now, which is new in the SRT feature, is choose which of the inputs you want to actually stream. Probably you want to stream program, but if you want to stream and just the one camera, you can do that and stream something different to RTMP. But I do need to switch this back to the direct mode because I entered the local IP address here. So we're going to switch that to direct. So I just added the Magewell RTMP option to here, so I can choose that. And if I pull up on my monitor the Magewell, as soon as I click go live here, in a couple seconds, we should hopefully see the video pop up over there. Hey, look at that. Obviously not exactly in sync because of the RTMP delay, but it's pretty fast, all things considered. So what you're seeing on the screen is the stream from the YoloBox directly to the Magewell Pro Convert in my rack, which is then popping up on the screen here. And of course, if I switch different camera angles, then we'll see the stream switch over there. So I can switch between the different angles, the side, little DJI pocket camera. Can go and choose the PDF or any of the picture-in-picture or split view layouts that I chose before. Another feature that I absolutely must mention in here is this first tab, which is the network bonding feature. Now, this is a paid upgrade in the YoloBox. This is one of the few paid services they have. Most of the features that you get in the YoloBox are just part of buying the YoloBox, but the network bonding feature is a subscription service. When you have that subscription service on your account, then it actually lets you bond multiple of the connections of the network connections in the YoloBox into a single one. So if I turn this on, it's going to go ahead and find all the different options that I've given it. Now I have it plugged in over Ethernet, and I also have it connected to my Wi-Fi. So you can also give it a SIM card directly, as well as plug in a USB modem, something like this. If I actually had a SIM card in here and plug this in over USB, it would be able to use that as another connection. It'll take all the available network connections and turn them into a single connection that is going to be a lot more reliable. I've done a few tests of this already, and I'll do some more tests on this channel in the future. But what I've noticed is that this is actually better than not using the bonding feature, even if you only have one connection. So you can run a speed test, and it'll actually go ahead and attempt to use the bonding service to aggregate all the connections together. Let me adjust my camera exposure so you can actually read this. Now, this is not the best test, obviously, because I'm connected to my Ethernet gigabit connection and Wi-Fi as well. So we're getting great bandwidth, but you can see that it's using Wi-Fi and Ethernet here. Now, again, in the future, I will do more videos about this to actually give you a better test to see what happens when the different options are bandwidth limited. I've done a couple of those on live streams in the past, so if you search my previous live streams, you should find those, and I'll link to those down below as well. But more of that in the future. In the meantime, the bonding feature is a great option for this because it does let you actually take advantage of if you have multiple networks available. Okay, let's actually go live and give this a try and actually see some of the other features that we've got in the YoloBox. I'm going to go ahead and stream to my actual YouTube channel. Turn that one off. Go to my YouTube channel. We'll go make an unlisted video, and I'm going to go make it members only. If you are a channel member, then you should get a notification about this as I'm filming this right now before this video goes live. And we'll do a little members only chat here to see what's going on. So when I do that, we'll put up a countdown screen because I like to start my streams with a countdown. We're going to give it just 3 minutes. I don't need 10 minutes for this. Start that countdown timer, and we're going to make sure that we have no audio going. Great. And let's go live. This is currently going to an unlisted URL, but I'm going to go ahead and go to my computer and now turn this into a members only video. Here we go. We're going live. Okay, we are actually live on YouTube. We've got about a minute before this thing goes live and I pop up live here. So if you are a channel member, I hope you've got the notification. Also, I posted it in Discord, so hopefully you joined there. And we will go ahead and say hi to people as they are joining once we're live. I've got about 45 seconds here. Let's see if we got anybody in the chat. Oh, we've got Mother B here. Comments are showing up from YouTube here. We are live. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Do give me a quick thumbs up if everything sounds good to you. Okay, cool. We got some good thumbs ups. Let's go ahead and look at the chat to see who we've got in the chat. Hopefully there's some comments here. Yes. All right. So just like with the YoloBox Pro, of course, you can show comments on your streams as well. Although I don't know why they're showing up on top. Let's see if we can change the style to fix that. Ah, there we go. I have to move it down. So I can change the colors, which is nice, but I can also change the position of the comments, and now they show up properly. Looks like still a few little bugs in the layout, but we'll make sure those get fixed from YoloBox. One of the nice things about YoloLiv is that they are very good about shipping firmware updates, so that's always nice. Does this do vertical? It does. So I can't show it to you while I'm live, of course, because it's streaming, but you'll see this in the video. You exit out of the main YoloBox app, and then you turn it into vertical mode, and it'll look like the Instream encoder, which is great. So it just does both built in. Hello, Walter. Hello. Good to see everybody here. So yes, you can stream to Instagram vertically as well with this, which is super cool. So yeah, thanks to all the channel members for joining the stream. It's always fun to do surprise live streams and see who joins in the chat. You can join as a channel member from the link down below. And thanks, of course, for all your support. In addition to going live, you can also use this to record your streams to an SD card or a USB drive. If I scroll over here to the new record tab, this is where I can set up what I want to record. By default, you'll have the program recording checked. That's recording your camera switches as well as any graphics that go on top of your stream. But you now also have the ability to record ISO feeds of any of your HDMI sources. And you can choose your recording resolution separately from your streaming resolution. So for example, I could be streaming at 720, and I could record a 1080 feed for later. Or if I had a 4K camera connected, I could even record in 4K. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in a 4K camera. One of my cameras is connected over HDMI now, and it's gonna pop up here. This one's a 4K signal. The rest of these are 1080. So I can stream at 720. I can record a program feed in 1080, but I could also go to the 4K tab and choose HDMI 4 and record an ISO feed of just that one camera in 4K. Let's go ahead and also turn on ISO recording for the other HDMI cameras. Looks like we did reach a limit, so we can record 1, 2, 3 feeds there and 4 feeds there. I can also choose whether to record H.264 or the more compressed and higher quality H.265. Let's go ahead and turn that on. I can tap this record button up here, and it's going to show me what will be recorded. 1080p, 30 frames per second, program HDMI 1 and 2, and a 4K version of HDMI 4. If I hit start, this is now recording, and we'll be able to pull up these files on the SD card later. There's also settings for recording limit and storage settings, which have moved from the settings tab into the record tab. Recording limits is where you choose how big you want the files to be before it breaks them up. And storage settings is where you choose whether to record on the SD card or a portable USB drive. I only have an SD card connected right now, so that's the only option I have. So now that this recording is saved onto the SD card, you can actually go and load this up as a video clip to play back immediately. I can go to local video, and you'll see there's a bunch of recordings on here from things I've been testing. But I should be able to find the recording I just made. It looks like they're all here. We've got the ISO feed of HDMI 1, the top-down camera, and the 4K version of the side camera. We can go ahead and choose that, and now it's loaded up here as a video clip that I can actually cut to. And this is playing back the 4K recording back into my stream. So I think a great use of this is if you actually want to either stream in a low resolution or a low bitrate, you can go over to your streaming settings over here, choose a bitrate that's a lot lower than you might use for a good quality stream because you might have a limited internet connection. But then you can go ahead and record your program feed at high quality or even do ISO recording to edit later. So I've gone and put the SD card from the YoloBox into the computer to see what files are recorded. Here we can see this is the program recording that we did in H.265. We also have the HDMI 1, 2, and 4 ISO recordings. These are the 1080 files. HDMI 1 was recorded in 1080 as HEVC H.265 codec. HDMI 4 is in fact recorded at 4K. So I could bring these files into any video editor and just re-edit the entire show if I wanted to. I also wanted to give you a real example of what the recording looks like from the YoloBox. On the left, you'll see the recording from the Hyperdeck, which I've been using to record most of this video. And on the right is a file from the YoloBox SD card put into the video editor so that you can see what it looks like side by side. This angle is my 4K camera connected into the YoloBox directly over HDMI, so we're getting a 4K signal in the YoloBox. This is recorded in 4K on the YoloBox Ultra. Of course, now you're looking at it on YouTube where it's downscaled to 1080 for the video. So I'll leave a link down below where you can download the raw clip of this recording so you can see it in its full resolution. Just for good measure, let's compare the quality difference between a few different bit rates that you might record using the YoloBox. Again, this video is recorded on the YoloBox Pro, and if you look at the bit rate, I'm recording the program feed as 1080 at 6 megabits H.265. I'm gonna go ahead and change this now to a different bit rate, and we'll look at that recording. So let's go ahead and drop this all the way down to the lowest quality just to see what it looks like. I'll still use H.265. Now, this is the lowest quality recording from the YoloBox, recorded at H.265 as 1 megabit. I'm not expecting this is going to look terribly good. Let's go ahead and move it up to the other end of the spectrum. I'll go ahead and bump this up as high as it goes, which looks like 13 megabits. I'll still use H.265. So this is the recording at 13 megabits using H.265. We'll look at the overhead shot from here as well. This is recorded on the YoloBox Pro. You can see the recording settings are here. This should look a lot better than the 1 megabit version, but this gives you a sense of what it actually looks like to record using the YoloBox. While we have this set up to record the program input at the highest quality in H.265, I wanted to also feed in my stress test video clip to give you a sense of the full range of the encoder. And just for good measure, let's go ahead and actually change this down to a more reasonable bitrate, like let's say 5 megabit, and see what that looks like. So now this is recorded at 5 megabit H.265, and we're gonna go ahead and cut back to the video clip and see what the stress test clip looks like now. And then lastly, I want to go ahead and change this down to H.264 at 5 megabits to compare that encoder. So now we're recording H.264 at 5 megabit. Let's cut over to the stress test clip, and we'll see what this looks like on the recording now as well. So one thing to keep in mind, of course, is that you are looking at this through YouTube's compression as well. So at least make sure you're looking at the video at 1080p on YouTube. Also, the audio that you're hearing now is recorded in the YoloBox as well. This is the normal microphone that I have going into one of my cameras that brings the audio in through HDMI. So if we look at my overhead camera to look at the audio setup, you can see that the audio source is HDMI 1, which is this main camera that I'm using to film most of this with. And this camera has a microphone connected into it through an audio interface. Lastly, in this video, I want to go through all the settings in the little settings tab here. This is where you're going to find a bunch of different options of the YoloBox, and this is where they often add things that are new features that maybe are a little experimental before they make their way into the rest of the interface. So it's a good idea to explore what's in this tab to see what you've got here. We'll start at the top, video switching control. By default, it'll be click to switch, which means as you tap, it's going to switch immediately. Change to double click, and now tapping once doesn't do anything. You have to actually double tap. This can be nice if you're worried about accidentally switching to different cameras when you're tapping the interface. Local video switching. We talked about this a little bit earlier. When you have a SD card video loaded, do you want it to continue playing when it's off screen, go back to the beginning, or just pause while it's off screen? Local videos play mode. You can choose whether your SD card video clips loop or just stop at the end. Looping is great for background clips, or if you just have credits or like a sponsor loop or something that you want to just always have ready that's always playing. Video out. A couple different options for sending video out of the different ports. You get program out. The default output will be a plain output of whatever's on the program feed. So right now, if I actually go to the HDMI out, this is what the HDMI out is showing you, which is how I'm recording this screen into the video. If you switch to program out, then it will output a copy of whatever is the actual main program. USB-C out defaults, this is actually a little bit phrased a little bit weirdly, but the USB-C feature means There's one USB-C port here. By default, it's how you can connect webcams in. You can actually use it for either webcam in or a SSD input. If you turn on this switch, it turns into an output port. Then you can plug this into a computer and use this whole thing as a webcam. NDI out. Again, NDI features are currently in beta, so this is not actually live yet, but the NDI feature will choose whether to publish the video feed from the YoloBox to NDI on your network. And again, like SRT, you can choose between outputting the program feed or one of your inputs. Toggling that on will make your YoloBox show up as an NDI source on your network for other devices to see. Video source transitions, this is what happens when you tap to a different angle. I've had it on cut default the whole time. So when I click a different camera, it immediately cuts. 1.5 seconds is, in my opinion, extremely long. So let's drop this down to just half a second. And if we go to fade, now you'll see that when I choose different angles, it actually does a little crossfade, which is kind of fun. But honestly, it's a bit much most of the time, and I don't find myself using these very much. Some of these are a lot. Some of these are just very dramatic and I'm not going to use these most of the time. I just leave mine on cut. It's simple. It's less distracting. It also uses less bandwidth. Encoding settings. This is an important one. This is what kind of encoding you want the YoloBox to do. Constant bitrate, constant quality, or variable bitrate. You probably want constant bitrate unless you have a good reason not to use it. You do get to choose the bitrate of your program stream. I think it defaults to 3. If you have good bandwidth, bump it up to 6 and you'll get better quality streams. Choose your frame rate. You can choose between different, anywhere from like 20 to 60, and including fractional frame rates. I just keep mine at 30. New in the Ultra is the ability to stream H.265. This is fantastic because H.265 will compress the video so much more than anything else. H.265 is so much more efficient at compressing video, which means you can stream better quality at the same bitrate, or you can use much less bandwidth for getting great quality still. Do keep in mind that H.265 is still experimental in some platforms, so not everything can actually receive that video yet. I don't actually know what noise reduction does, but it was on by default. SD card management shows you the different files on your SD card. You can delete files. It shows you how much space is used. Portable storage management, same for the drive if I had the drive plugged in. Streaming mode. This, again, we talked about this a little bit earlier. If you are streaming via to just one platform, choose direct, and that goes from this device directly to your streaming destination, which is especially important if you're streaming to something on a local network. If you use YoloLiv's multi-streaming platform, it'll go to their cloud first, and then they push the multiple feeds out to your different destinations, which is very good if you want to support streaming to multiple places at once. But of course, it means that those destinations have to be accessible from the internet, so things like YouTube and Facebook. I usually leave mine on direct unless I know I want to stream to multiple places. Replay settings. This will change how long you want the replay feature to go back, how fast you want to play back when it does play back, whether you want the audio, and whether you want them to mute other audio while the replay is happening, and whether you want a little replay icon to show here as well. So lots of good options there. The chat tab here, this is where comments appear from your live stream. So when you are live on a platform that's not direct RTMP, but actually YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, the comments from those platforms will show up here and you can tap on them to show them on the screen. We didn't talk about the remote guest feature, but I already have other videos about the remote guest feature on the YoloBox on the channel. So go check out those videos, which I'll link to below. But this feature exists in the YoloBox Ultra as well. And I would expect it to only work better because the CPU in this thing is even more powerful. Lastly, we're going to take a quick peek at the vertical mode. Now, I'm not going to dive into every feature in the vertical mode because they're honestly mostly the same. Let me exit out of this. If you tap on the plus and then choose vertical streaming, this turns this whole box into the Instream. I do have other videos about the Instream encoder, which is the vertical live streaming encoder that separate devices they put out a long time ago. But now that software is built into the Ultra. Now, of course, all my cameras are sideways because I need to physically rotate them. But this works just like the Instream. You can either rotate your cameras sideways, or you can actually do a rotate if you have horizontal cameras and you want to crop in on them or shrink them. Now I can go into an app like Instagram. I can start a live stream in Instagram, and I'll actually be, if I tap that, I'll be live on Instagram with my good camera, while I can also switch between different camera angles on Instagram, which is a very cool feature. And again, like the main YoloBox Ultra, I can add overlays, whether that's small little icons, images. I can add everything like lower thirds, countdown timers, titles, web graphics, everything like the main software works here as well. I also have the audio mixer. I have the recording feature. I have auto camera switching, a bunch of settings. All that stuff is here on the vertical mode as well. You can even add picture-in-picture or local video playback, just like on the main horizontal mode. So it's really a great feature, but of course, you're not going to be quickly switching back between horizontal and vertical because you do have to rotate your cameras. And that is the complete overview of the YoloBox Ultra. This has been a very long video. I will make sure there are timestamps down below so you can skip around to see and jump around to what you want to see. But there's a lot of features in the YoloBox. And what I will also say is that they are constantly improving it. I've been extremely impressed at how often they're shipping firmware updates, how often they fix bugs, how often they add new features, how much they listen to customer feedback. So if you do have suggestions or if you find bugs, comment on their Facebook pages or comment on this video down below. They do watch the comments on these videos. And lastly, I'll leave you with a few of my thoughts of this. It seems to me like the YoloBox Ultra is the ultimate YoloBox. It includes the features of the YoloBox Pro and the Instream. It's better, it's faster, it's much more responsive. As I'm scrolling around, it's just honestly much more pleasant to use than all the previous models. 4 inputs gives you a ton of options for different layouts and bringing in graphics from a computer, bringing in multiple camera angles. It's basically the best YoloBox. That said, I do still think there's a lot of uses for the YoloBox Mini, which is, as you might notice, quite a lot smaller than the Ultra. And the YoloBox Mini is just going to be always more portable than the Ultra. So it'll still have a place for people in their workflows. I just put out a video about the YoloBox Mini, so check that video out. I've linked to it down below. In that video, I talk about why I think the YoloBox Mini is still a good YoloBox as well. It complements the YoloBox Ultra nicely, but the YoloBox Ultra is an Ultra YoloBox. And with that, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope it gives you an idea of what to expect from the YoloBox Ultra and what you might see in the future. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.